I was there when the wind carried the promise of life across Nazareth. The world did not know me. I was only a young girl, barely more than a child. The sun rose over the olive trees as it always had, and I went to draw water from the well, as I always did. But that morning, something eternal brushed against the ordinary. A light that was not of this world filled the air, and the angel spoke my name. Mary. The sound was soft, but it entered my soul like thunder. I did not speak much. I did not understand much, but I listened. And in my listening, eternity entered time. I have often wondered what the world heard that day. They saw a girl, quiet, simple, unremarkable. They did not hear the trembling of heaven, the heartbeat of God within my silence. I said few words, only one sentence that would change everything. Let it be done to me according to your word. After that, there was silence, the kind of silence that follows creation, the kind of silence that holds the breath of God. When the angel left, the world continued as before. Birds sang, the water shimmered, but inside me, a universe had begun. I did not tell anyone at first. How could I? How does one explain the infinite? My heart carried a secret too vast for words. I went to Elizabeth, my cousin, who was also carrying a miracle. And when we met, her child leapt in her womb. And for the first time, I spoke aloud the joy that had been burning inside me. My Magnificat. Even then, after the words left my lips, I returned to silence. Because what can one say after praising the unexplainable? When Joseph found out, I saw fear in his eyes and confusion. He was a good man, humble and kind, yet he did not understand what heaven had asked of him. I said nothing. I trusted the God who had begun this story to continue it. In time, he did. Joseph's dream became our strength. Together, we walked toward Bethlehem, step by step, through dust and exhaustion, guided only by faith and a star we could not yet see. The night my son was born, the sky burned with light, and yet the world was asleep. I held him in my arms, the Word made flesh, and I said nothing. What could words add to the sound of a newborn's cry that echoed through eternity? I watched Joseph prepare a small fire. I watched shepherds kneel, their eyes wide with wonder. Angels sang, kings brought gifts, but I remained quiet. My silence was my prayer. My silence was my awe. When we fled to Egypt, the desert wind was cruel. My child slept in my arms as we crossed lands of fear and sand. I whispered lullabies, but they were more for my own heart than for his. I did not ask why. I only walked. Faith is not loud. It is the steady rhythm of footsteps in darkness. And when we reached safety, I looked up at the stars and thought of the angel's words again. The Lord is with you, even in exile, even in silence. Years passed. My son grew. His eyes, those same eyes that once closed in my arms, began to see farther than mine ever could. I watched him learn, laugh, work beside Joseph, shaping wood with hands that would one day shape the world. He was gentle, yet there was something infinite behind his simplicity. Sometimes at night, I would hear him pray. The same silence that once filled me filled the room again. I never interrupted. I only listened. At Cana, during a wedding, they ran out of wine. I saw the quiet panic in their faces, the small human worry that feels so large when love is at stake. I looked at him, my son, and he looked back, the kind of look that needs no words. I simply said, "They have no wine." He answered, "My hour has not yet come." Still, I turned to the servants and whispered, "Do whatever he tells you." It was my last instruction to the world, and even now, it remains my only one. Then the crowds began to follow him. The boy I had raised became the teacher everyone sought. People asked for miracles, for wisdom, for healing. They called him Rabbi, Master, Messiah. I stayed behind the scenes. Mothers do not compete with the destiny of their sons. I prayed. I remembered. I watched. I heard rumors of danger, of plots, of envy. I said nothing. Love does not demand to be heard. It waits. The night they took him, the stars seemed to fall. I knew before they told me. Every mother knows the cry of her child, even from far away. When I saw him again, he was carrying the cross. His face was blood and light. He stumbled, and our eyes met. There are no words for that kind of pain, only silence, the kind of silence that screams without sound. I wanted to run to him, to take his place, to cradle the world back into mercy. But this was the hour he had spoken of. So I stood there, at the foot of the cross, and I did what I had done since the beginning. I listened. He spoke few words from the cross, each one like a flame cutting through the darkness. Father, forgive them. I thirst. It is finished. And when he looked at me, he said, Woman, behold your son. In that moment, John became my son, and through him, every soul that would ever believe became my child too. My silence became a cradle large enough for all the world. When the sky went dark and the earth shook, I did not weep loudly. I held his body in my arms as I had on the night of his birth. Then, he had come into the world through my yes. Now, he left it through his. My heart broke, but even in the breaking, it whispered fiat. Let it be. The first and last word of my life. 3 days later, the dawn came. I went to the tomb before sunrise, as I used to wake before him when he was a child. The stone was rolled away. The world had changed again. This time, I did not see angels. I only felt peace, the kind that fills everything, everywhere. I said nothing, not because there was nothing to say, but because joy too deep for words becomes worship. Years passed. The disciples carried his message to the ends of the earth. I stayed in the background, praying, remembering, holding them as I once held him. When they were afraid, they came to me. They called me Mother. I never gave long speeches. I simply prayed with them. My words had ended long ago. Now, I lived only in silence. People often ask what I was like, what I said, what I thought. But it was never my words that mattered. It was my listening. In a world that shouts, I became the echo of God's quiet. My silence was not emptiness. It was full of waiting, of surrender, of love. The same love that began in Nazareth, when I said yes and never ended. If you listen closely, you can still hear it. In the rustling of leaves, in the stillness of prayer, in the heartbeat of those who trust. It is the silence that welcomes life, the silence that endures suffering, the silence that believes even when light seems gone. I am Mary, the one who kept all these things and pondered them in her heart. I am the silence between the words, the pause between the cries, the breath between the prayers. And though I spoke little, my silence continues to speak of a love that does not need to explain itself, of a God who came quietly, and of a heart that answered simply, "Let it be done."